Good afternoon. Today is Monday, May 22nd, 2017. It is 1:01 p.m. and we're here for the regular trustee meeting. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We have an agenda before us. Are there any additions, modifications? If not, I have a few. Under new business, I'd like to just add discussion regarding administration of the oath for hiring of new firefighters in the future. I'd also like to add just discussion about Popcorn Festival in the township presence similar to the cities, in addition or complementing what we do with fire. And just comments that were made to me. With old business, I'd just like to discuss the letter we received from the chief auditor. I'd like to discuss just an update on the revised investment policy. I'd like to discuss just follow-up points with regards to the proposal we asked for Morgan Stanley to provide with regards to treasury management. And I'd like to have just general discussion regarding the timing and amount of additional funds that we need to invest as a township. And like to discuss status of the, I believe it's March 28th, 2016 minutes that are missing, so, or I shouldn't say missing, that are not recorded in the minute book.
They haven't been approved.
Correct. I'd like to also add executive session under Ohio Revised Code, section 121.22G1. And that's for discussing compensation of a public employee. And under 121.22G3, conferences with an attorney regarding imminent litigation. That's enough for today.
Move to approve the agenda as modified?
Second.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Rober?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Make a motion to accept general ledger report in the amount of $315,229.90 for the May 24th payroll.
Second?
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Move to accept the payment listing reports in the amount of $87,745.88 for May 9th and May 16th warrants.
Second.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Make a motion to approve the minutes for the March 27th, 2017 special meeting.
Second?
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes. This time we have a pre-scheduled speaker. Alex, I'll turn it over to you to do the introductions.
Thank you. Pre-scheduled speaker is comp management. In your packet is a response based on the letter that was requested by the board to send to the Ohio Township Association. That's on page 4 of your packet. And then Scott couldn't be here with us, so Bruce is with us from comp management. They also sent a letter addressing and had some updated figures. So I'll let Bruce turn it over. If you want to just give your full name and address for the record, please.
Certainly. Bruce Preston, Preston, 6503 Edgewood Avenue, Cincinnati, 45224. So I know, exciting topic, workers' compensation, right after lunch. I really appreciate you inviting me here to talk about this. Scott didn't want to be here, he's stuck out of state, and the storms didn't allow him to fly back in last night. So I actually have experience working with your account. About 15 years ago, when you were in a penalty rated status, I was your account representative with Comp Management. And I worked closely with Trish Gustafson, and we pulled you out of a penalty situation into a credit situation by managing claims. We reviewed existing policies. I helped her with drafting some new policies. And we also did trainings that I put together for your departments to bring you into a credit situation. At that point, though, Comp Management didn't have a group rating program for townships. And so I told her the best thing for you to do was to go with a company that did have a program for townships. Flash forward, and we work with the Public Treasurers Association on our city group with OML, the Ohio Municipal League, and the Public Treasurers Association. And they pulled some villages into that program as well. We've had townships come to us as well as to the Public Treasurers Association asking us if there was anything we could do to assist them because they felt that the fees they were currently paying were too high with the Township Association. So we did put together a group, and we were happy to welcome you back as a client for this current year, and I'm glad to be working back with Trish again. And the reason that really we got the group off the ground was to address the issue of the fees. And I know you received a letter from the Township Association saying, hey, you left $20,000 on the table, why did you do that? That's not good fiscal working. And the reality is, if you factor in the difference between the fees, there becomes a lot less daylight between our two numbers. They were charging over $17,000 for the same services that we're providing, and that we're charging $3,000, roughly. I'm speaking roughly. And when I say the same services, I would say even a little better service on our end because of the work that we have done with you in the past and that we will continue to do with you, if given the opportunity to do so. And I just wanted to address a couple of issues with the letter that you did receive from Mr. DeCampo. Our 2017 group performed exactly the same as the OTA, same level 40% discount group. They invited you at the last minute into a higher tier discount group that we just didn't feel you qualified for, but they were going to put you into that group. That accounts for the differences in the savings between the 54 and the 40%. But then again, when you factor in the differences between the fees, between 17 and 3, that becomes a much bigger issue. The way the group rating works and why there's a difference between a forecasted or a projected discount and an actual discount is right now, while we're marketing, we've both put invitations out to you. Well, you can't join two groups, right? So we have to try to assume who are we going to actually have in our group, what will their final data be as of March 31st, what will their payroll be, and what is the Bureau going to do at expected loss rates. And a lot of that data won't become known until next year. So we try to do our best job of saying, we think these people will join, we believe these will be the rates, we believe these will be the costs and the payroll, and then when you actually see the numbers next year, there can be a few points off. And you can see by the document that we provided, it's happened both with the Treasurers Association group and with our group. It's not exclusive to one or the other. And I think to call that misleading or to think that there's some kind of motivation behind that is a little disingenuous. The reality is everybody puts together groups based on assumptions, actuarial assumptions, and then when you have the actual numbers put with you, there could be differences between what your projections were going to be and what the actual numbers were going to be. And they've had the same issue in the past as we've had with the current year, where you're a couple of points off from where you think you're going to be to where you actually end up. Where I think the bigger difference is, and where I think there's some control, are the fees. And the fee is what we charge you to join the group and then to receive our services. And there's no hard and fast rule on how fees are set. They didn't share with you the information. They said it's proprietary. I can tell you ours is by nature proprietary, but really what it consists of is, generally speaking, the size of the discount you're going to receive. We could factor in the size of your payroll, the amount of claims that you have, the amount of work that we think is going to be required to work on the policy, and then come up with what we think is a fair fee. Those fees then are approved by the association. So in our case, the Treasurers Association approves it, in their case, the Township Association approves it. And the reason is, there's a split. There's a split between the TPA and the association. So the association is fully aware of and signs off on the fee that you're charged, and they take part in that. So there's a little bit of a vested interest by the association in what the ultimate fee is going to be. We have some groups where we are a monopoly. With the Ohio Municipal League, Treasurers Association, we're the only city group that any city could join. With County Commissioners Association, we have the only county commissioners group that anybody could join. And you can see by the statistics we provided to you that we have a lot of experience with public employers. We work with the state of Ohio, we represent the Bureau of Workers' Compensation. We have a huge number of public employers we work with. And as such, we understand public employers have different issues than private employers. Their budgets are different. And we have to take care that we charge a fair fee for the work we do, but that we don't say, we've got a monopoly, we can charge you whatever we want. And unfortunately, that looks like that's what was going on with the Treasurers Association. When you have a fee as high as $17,000, the same work can be done for $3,000. It just seems like we've got the only game in town, we can charge whatever we want, and now that's just simply no longer the case for them. We do pride ourselves on working with public employers. We provide you with statistics on that. Our township group is growing. We've gotten an additional 30 joining the 2018 program. We currently have verbal commitments, but not the paperwork, from another 6. And there's only 6 who have left to go into other programs from the 2017 to the 2018 program. Now, that's small compared to the larger group, but it shows you that the program is stable, it is growing, and we continue to have a commitment to try to give an alternative to townships. So I just wanted to address the discrepancies that we found between the letter that you received and highlight the issues that we pointed out in our letter. And if there are any questions at all, I'd be happy to answer this for you.
I guess, first of all, thank you for, number one, for being here today, but
Sure.
for responding and providing the level of detail that you did in your letter. I think as evidenced by our continued relationship, we are taking the information you've given us immediately. So it's unfortunate, and I believe that Mr. Temple is most likely in his letter is stating what he believes to be true
Oh,
as
sure.
well. But it's always one of those things where you can, it's kind of like truth in lending at the end of the day, and the disclosures that were required in that industry. And unfortunately, those are not applicable here, where you can actually say we want truth in quoting numbers, because at the end of the day, if you're quoting a discount rate, but it doesn't include fees and fully loaded costs, it doesn't truly reflect what the total cost is going to be. And that's where we lose sight. So I think the lesson learned, at least for the township, hopefully, and for others that may be receiving the same letter that you can get to before they make a decision. And I think the burden is on you essentially at that point to know that this letter most likely went out to everyone. That
That's the assumption.
you need to do a blanket response. But at the end of the day is to really push the total cost comparison. And based on the numbers, it appears that the township made the right decision and is making the right decision moving forward. And I think in the future, we just need to look at it as provide us an estimate of what the total cost will be, not just the discount rate.
For apples to apples.
So, but I personally appreciate it on behalf of the board. I think we're going
So,
So, thank you.
to, so thank you very much for coming in.
thank you. Enjoy this beautiful day.
Thank you. Open at once. You got a coat there, is that you?
Oh, that's not me.
Okay, very good. You're still welcome to it.
It looks nice.
No, it's been a while.
I could trade up.
Thanks.
Thank you.
This time, we open the floor up to any citizens desiring to speak. Seeing none, we'll close that session and move on to old business. And so I just had a couple things that I added in, and really it was just refreshers to keep them in front of us. It wasn't meant to drive any necessarily decision-making today, but we've had discussions with Auditor's office, and we've had discussions with the regards to the findings and the publication of our most recent audit. Yep. As a trustee, I'm still dissatisfied with the response that we've received from the chief auditor. And I would still like to have an audience with him. It's my understanding that we're talking about dates sometime in June as possible dates. I'd like that audience to be an open session. I don't believe that that's, I think that essentially we need to have that in open session, bear it out. There are differences in how the audit results were reported. Clarify if their assumptions are correct or not, because there's a significant difference of opinion with regards to the 2 years activity that occurred. This board wrote a letter to Auditor Yost, and it took multiple phone calls, multiple emails, multiple projects, multiple meetings to get a response. And the response that we received was very vanilla at the end of the day. And so I'd just like to make sure, at least from my position, that we press them for an open session meeting to discuss that letter and their findings.
I think we agree, I agree.
I concur.
With regards to the revised investment policy, and these kind of all go together. Do we have an update of when that will be through legal review and ready to present?
It's currently in legal review. We will have it on the agenda for the next meeting.
Okay.
We reviewed several other townships and kind of their makeup. And so we do have some recommended changes to the investment policy. I did take the current investment policy, put it in our current policy format. So that's one change you're going to see, but everything is marked in red on changes, and anything in addition is underlined in bold. So you should have that at the next meeting.
And to clarify the reason that I keep addressing these same things, it follows what we've addressed as a board, I believe, for the last couple of years, but also we know that we put some money on the sideline in anticipation of the fire station. And that may have been the right thing to do. We don't have quantifiable numbers to say it was the right thing to do. But what we know is that the longer we wait, if there is another $1 million or $3 million that could be invested while we wait for the laddering out of the money we already have invested. If $9 to $10 million is producing $75,000 to $100,000 of interest income by the quarter that we just lost, we can do the math as far as what $1 to $3 million could have provided for the township. And so I stick to my resolve that we have an obligation to keep that money invested and fully invested. And that follows we asked for a proposal from Morgan Stanley. Do we have an update of where that's at?
Yeah, we were waiting on until we get a more of a secured number on the cost of the fire station. The committee has put together, letters are going to be sent out to the committee members, I believe this week, to me, which is one member of the board, which is Mr. Roberts, and then the citizens committee that was established, as well as myself. So we'll have a greater understanding of what the cost will be because of the site. The unknown is right now, the biggest unknown for the fire station is the site. And we have to do a little investment to look to see if we can put a septic system on that site with the current footprint of the potential fire station. So there has been a lot of updates in regards to septic systems and what type of septic systems we can put in up there.
Package station?
Excuse me?
A package station of some sort?
Well, Essentially, we could, but the question is, what's the footprint on the property and if there's gonna be enough room for a septic system? Now, it's not gonna, you figure 3 to 5 people at a fire station, it shouldn't be that big of a system, per day, so, we're not
But you have to
looking.
have the real estate.
Like a
to do it.
resident.
Correct, but we need the space to do it, so that's
Need
the,
the space to do it, and then the space for a backup.
correct. Now, they do require a backup system, so there are, in the traditional system, you may see like a leach field out front, there's other systems that can run the property line.
And I wasn't trying to get into the minutiae.
Sure,
of designing the
sure.
fire stations, just saying, where do we stand
Right.
with regards to.
And that's what Mr. Anzac was waiting on from us.
So when will we have that answer? Because we've talked about that now for a while.
I'd have to get with the chief on one.
But what difference does it make? Because we know we have so much money that's there. If we invest it, and if only in short-term investments, although we have investments coming due that we can roll over different things at different times, why can't we be, and I agree wholeheartedly, Mr. President, we should be getting that interest on the money regardless of what the fire station's gonna cost. We invest what we can invest, what we know we don't need, for current expenses, know what's coming up that we can withdraw from Morgan Stanley as things come due or interest comes, and maximize the interest. I mean, I could sit down probably and work something out, but we have someone who's supposed to be doing it for us, and we don't have to wait to find out the station's gonna cost $3 million, $5 million, $7 million. Whatever millions we have, invest it and figure out when we can pull out, what we can pull out as we need it. We know we're not gonna need a whole lot until September.
There's two factions of it, really. One is the cash flow management, and
Absolutely.
construction loan structuring, financing of the station. That's one piece of it. But true treasury management is managing all of our funds, not
Yeah.
just what we have set aside for fire.
Exactly, the whole thing.
I agree.
And it should be done totally now.
So.
And I think that
I
the
guess
greater
first question is,
conversation,
Yeah, are they in the position to do it? Are they interested in doing it? And if not,
Go to someone else.
is it time to look for a second, not to replace them, but to augment them? Is it time to look for a second firm? And I don't want to, I prefer not to go through that path if we don't have to. Because I think it's best to household it all.
and that was probably a discussion we have to have with Mr. Anzac to see if he can do that currently. The information, the last time we talked.
He knew exactly what we were.
Yeah,
talking about.
and he's done it.
And they do it. for-
Yeah, and they do it for school districts, and as you mentioned at the last meeting, so.
The concept of the sweep account, and it's very simple, is that every dollar that comes in goes to the sweep, and effectively you're working off of a virtual line of credit. And then you stay fully invested 100% of the time. So that, I mean, the difference for the first quarter could have been the engineering fees for a portion of it. I mean, we have to get this moving.
Well, I don't have the authority to contact Mr. Anzac, so
How do you not have the authority?
that's through the fiscal office.
Okay, but from my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that the auditor's office told the board that it was, the board was responsible for it.
I agree. And
So we need to have a working relationship between the two offices,
Right.
between fiscal and between you, there's no question. But this board has that authority. So, I mean, do you need a motion to that thing, or do you just do? I mean, that's, and it's not, I think, we do conference call this contract. Because they actually be aware of everything as well.
Yeah, I would recommend having a work session with Mr. Anzac and lay out what we want. And
Okay.
I thought we did that.
I thought we did that.
That's what we did when he was here.
In a high level.
Right, and what I received back was, we're waiting, he needed a firm number on the fire station.
Well, that's ridiculous. I mean, that's not even in the play, it's not even in play.
I think we have a round number. We had a $2.5 million
Make it three.
to $3 million range based on our last experience. I think that was a close guesstimate, is that correct?
Correct.
So if we said 3 million as a high end, real question was, what can they offer? And what do they do for others that they think would benefit us? Start with that. And then you can sit down and do a work session, and is that what this makes sense? So, and this area should be 100% included in all of that.
But time is of the essence, and I don't think we should delay it any further.
That really covered,
The timing.
you know,
2, 3.
the time to invest.
Right.
And, the treasurer manager.
Then we want to close the fire.
That was under new business. Under old business, I had one other, which was the March 28th, 2016. Sarah, where do you see those, where do they stand with you, where do they stand with us? It's the only, and are there any other minutes that are not in there?
I would have to go back and look, I obviously,
But I know those we never approved.
Correct.
So
those
can
we didn't, I signed them, I put them in the book.
Okay, we didn't approve them. I think we wanted the verbatim minutes.
Okay. So if the minutes do not reflect what the board wants the minutes to reflect, and we've made a motion to modify them, then should they be pulled from the book and modified, or what's the process to get them right?
Was there a motion to modify them though? There was
We didn't
discussion
approve the
about it.
minutes at all. And I think we
If not,
discussed.
we can
having-
research it, I just want to clean the
I
record.
thought we made a motion.
So we have an inaccurate record, if they're in the book, then they're inaccurate.
I'll have to look and see if, I mean, because,
If we can try to clean this up at the next meeting, so
Okay.
for posterity's sake, it's recorded properly.
I believe we wanted the verbatim minutes. I believe there is a set of verbatim minutes
There's-
available to adopt. The question I would have is, can we just say, adopt those minutes, or do we have to read the entirety of the, whatever, 26 pages, into the record to get them into the record as the adopted minutes?
Whatever we have to do.
okay.
Okay. On new business, as far as administering the oath, I believe I've sat through now 3 occasions where, in the collateral damage of it is the folks that are waiting, and then the impression it leaves of the township when we don't have the documents we need when the process starts. So I would like to ask that from here forward, that the fire department and the fire chief, so this will say the fire chief and the administrator, handle the oath, any resolutions that are required, they bring them to the meeting. And that the oath be administered by the chair of the board from here forward. Whoever that may be at the time. I don't know if we need a motion to do that, or if that's policy, or what we need for that. But if we need a policy or a motion, then let's do it at the next meeting. And I think as long as fire has all the tools to get it done, that way everybody's busy, and human error happens. And so, in lieu of there being any lack of clarity on who's responsible, let's just make it the chief and the administrator. And we go from there.
In the oath itself, have the name of the firefighter up front. So we can say resolution to hire, blah, 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 and then read the oath, so that when we have the motion seconded, we already have the name of the person there, and not in the therefore.
I think-
Not two different names.
And you
Yeah,
may want
I
to,
think-
Well, however it is,
and
I
we've
think
done.
in general,
Hot
formatting
man.
of resolutions to hire any personnel, be it road or
Yeah.
IT or whoever, not IT, but HR, zoning, or whoever it is. If we can work on the formatting of that separately, but this is just purely the administering of these oaths. So we can eliminate any concerns, finger pointing, whatever it is, just we have it on the way. So, is the board in agreement on that?
yeah, my only comment would be, maybe, board member and, internally pecking order from chair down, because You know, what happened last time, you know, my daughter was in an accident, so I couldn't be here if I'm the board chair.
Of course, yeah, we can have a substitute.
You know what I mean?
The
Just
vice
so
chair
it's,
takes over.
They would normally go from chair and vice chair.
Vice chair.
just so it's,
Yeah.
But why wouldn't it continue to be me? If I'm always here to take the minutes and I'm going to give the oath, then why
Just
would,
to
why
clean
would
up the
you?
issues we've had this year, so we had, or this year and last year, so that's.
But I've been
that's
here
what
for all
we're
the
doing.
oaths, so why would you change
That's
who's
my,
giving the?
that's my recommendation, so is the board in agreement? with
So
that?
you're not having any discussion, you're cutting me off, so I'm asking.
I'm just
a
asking if the
question.
board is in agreement with that.
I think it's fine, because any elected official may, offer an oath
Administrative.
of office.
Mhm.
That's one of the things, and maybe that just makes the resolution, and whatever it is, the oath, just one stream. And then when it comes to the signing of the documents for the payment, that belongs to the fiscal officer. And that's it.
Good.
It just seems weird. We've been doing this for 10 years, I've been giving the oaths. so-
Using the excuse that we've done something this way for the rest of the beginning.
And I understand if there was a problem with me giving the oath, I would absolutely agree with you.
Problem was
But
the oaths
only-
weren't here.
Well, that's happened, the only reason why that's happened is since you let go of Jim and Deb.
We're
so-
debating.
Well,
we're
it's
debating-
your office, and that has to be done, and the oath should be here.
No,
It
the
was done for
departments
10
have each
years.
have
Okay,
been
let's-
doing their
let's
own
move on.
resolutions
Let's
for a
move on
year,
right now.
so it's
So
no
we're
different.
gonna move on from that, thank you. As far as popcorn festival, at the last popcorn festival, there were a number of people that made the comment to me, why doesn't the township have a booth? And I kept saying, we have a great booth. It's at the far west end, go look for the ladder truck. And what the comments came back is, we'd like to see the road projects, we'd like to see the residential development, we'd like to see those things kind of charted out like the city, similar to what the city does. And so I'm just throwing it out for discussion, from a roads or a zoning, a development, and just a community update perspective. Is it something that the township should entertain, or has it ever done it? I mean, that's the
No,
first
I
question.
don't think we ever did. Is there any, do we have sufficient personnel to do it?
and I can say,
Rotate
2
this
years
person.
ago, when I had my booth up there, and some of the questions I did get was, where's the township booth? And I directed them to the fire truck.
Which that is a great display, obviously, but it doesn't really show, here's the pockets of development, here's what's going, look at what you report on a bi-weekly basis that maybe 30 people get to hear about in total, versus being able to have a community awareness. That's, I'm not suggesting you work the Popcorn Festival, I'm just suggesting we have a presence there that shows
It
that.
could be a static display, I guess.
Yeah, we certainly could have a presence if the board indicate, and there's a cost to that, having the space and the tent. And I don't know what the cost is for the fire department. And obviously you guys occupy the west end pretty well.
I didn't think they charge the fire.
Yeah.
They don't charge
I mean, we
youth
have a
council.
we have personnel or apparatus cost.
Right, there may be that cost as well if we require, have staff in there to
And I
answer
think that should be
questions.
the annual reports.
Yeah, I know the sheriff has asked in the past, both the city and the fire department, if they could have a display along with the fire department, so obviously, and they have, with the fire department, and showing what they have up there, and they bring, the motorcycles and, the big SUV or Hummer, drug confiscated vehicle, so yeah, we certainly could do something and include the township.
I know the timing right now is when they're in a crunch right now,
Right.
trying to put all the booths together,
Right.
so that's why I'm bringing it up. If
Sure,
it's
I know.
something that between now and the next meeting, you can reach out to those folks and, or the
See
city.
if you can get adjacent to the city, that would be.
Well, Jason or Crossrun or something, I know those booth spaces are friendly, so it's, but I think it's also behooves the township to have something there. Administrator.
Thank you, Board. First item I have is the annual reports. This will be the second year we've presented in the meeting. In the past, we've just sent it out in an email and then posted on our website. I've listed all the annual reports, starting on page 10. If there's no changes or suggestion on changes, we will then go ahead and post them on the website and social media as well.
I thought the detail that was provided was excellent, and frankly, when I got to zoning and roads, these were the two that stimulated my memory about why don't we have a township presence to tell all this stuff at a format for a venue where we have thousands of people that are gonna pass by. So, these reports are what stimulated that. So, I appreciate the detail.
Yes, and I do definitely appreciate the chart that I've been asking for about the road mileage. Thank you.
Yes.
It just emphasizes my impression every time we add a little bit, what has gone on, at least since I started. That is amazing growth that we've had.
Yes.
And I think
And
that's
it's
something we
still
should
going
keep
up.
up. So
Still
thank
going
you.
up.
I appreciate it. So, as well as all the other charts that you gave us. It's very helpful. I had some questions on the finance for the road. We had more, did we increase our levy in 2016 or 15? Because the revenue seemed to have jumped quite a bit from 15 to 16.
When did the
I would have to actually go back and look at that report. I think it was in 16, we passed the 4%, 0.4 in 15 that was collected, payable in 16.
Okay, so that's why that big
Yes.
jump came out, okay.
That would be the renewal of the increase.
And that's the
Yes.
beginning of the curve.
Yeah.
Beginning.
And maybe on the next report, note that on one of the notes on the bottom, there was a levy passed or an increased levy, so that people don't say, oh, what happened also,
Early stage.
for the comparison, because the charts are excellent.
As far as cost allocation, and the charts drove the question in my mind, are we resetting this? As far as, are we resetting percentages on an annual basis for the next year's budget? So
But-
based on this data, or are we still using the same estimated percentages?
We'll have to look at, so once we look at the percentage of the
Now you have
budget.
real data.
Yeah. Yeah, it's based on the percentage of the overall budget. So, yes, every year we're gonna have to evaluate that at budget time to look at, should there be a decrease, should there be an increase in regards to percentages? Yeah. And it's not based on revenue and expenditures, it's based on the overall budget, or the percentage of that budget. There were several different models out there to use. This by far was what we agreed upon with the department heads that would be easiest to calculate in regards to what we have to show for the auditor in regards to the percentage of budget. There's other options that are much harder, creates more work for staff as they're direct and indirect costs. So you're using a different model, but this is the easiest model to go with, that the staff decided to move forward. But yes, we will continue to evaluate that each year.
So
whether
this
that
goes in this
percentage-
check,
Yeah.
just to go back and say, yes, it was in line.
Correct.
So, the data's fantastic.
Maybe capital improvement should be included. That would skew the data for the fire department when you go to the fire station.
I will go ahead
Thank
and
you.
post those and send them out. The other area that
I did not scan them for typographical, so if someone has, if someone has already done that, or
Yeah,
just do
this is-
one last spell or grammar check.
Yeah. Okay. And that also goes out to not only social media, but the chamber as well, and any other civic organizations that
Good.
represent the township.
And the HOAs?
We will send that out to you.
Yeah, those.
Yeah. Yeah, there was some discussion on that.
Okay. Green County Sheriff report?
Thank you, Board. On page 27 begins the biweekly report for the Sheriff's Office. Obviously, a busy weekend. You might notice Sheriff, Highway Patrol, all along US 35 in regards to the hand pension and controlling the signals and lights, so, obviously we had an increased traffic on township roads, not only US 35, Dayton Xenia, Fairgrounds as well, to get out to, the convention. Very successful, so busy weekend for them.
Good. And that's a 3-year commitment that they have with the fairgrounds?
Yes, of course, the last presentation I sat in on it, I think it was at OTA, or Green County Association, Township Association, he said it was a 3-year agreement.
Yeah, and I mean, I would imagine that, you know, at the last, Green County Regional Planning, not last one before he was there, and they're investing significant into the fairgrounds. I mean, he was up over $1 million they've invested in the fairgrounds itself.
Was there any cost that could be allocated to that event? No different than what we've talked about before with soccer events or any other races or things like that, that we need to at least look at for next year. Did we realize from the EMS standpoint or
No, no.
from a sheriff standpoint, any additional overtime costs that we would not normally incur?
Yeah, the township did not. Okay. I'm sure the sheriff did,
Sure.
but not for the substation.
Okay.
And nothing with fire and EMS. Obviously, it was a busy weekend for them as well, for other events, but yeah. And then we got the Creek Classic coming up, and from what I understand, we're already doing one of the options that we've been doing in the policy is medic standby, last medic out. You know, the idea that they may have to leave when they come back.
Well, let's hope we don't. Last 2 years, we've had use for them at the tournament. Let's hope this tournament doesn't have any injuries.
Yeah, I spoke to John Ankeny the other day at the Phillips event, and that Creek Classic is now consolidated down to only these fields.
Oh, okay.
So this is the only complex that will be at this year. The number of teams dropped significantly. So they were able to consolidate it all in one location. So just FYI, that should help.
Yeah.
Rather than try to be in 2 places at one time. Okay. Any other comments or questions on the sheriff's report? HR.
Thank you, Board. On page 33 is the Yes to Youth, which is a similar program to what we deal with Youth Works in Montgomery County. This is Greene County's version. And this is designed for more adult placement. We do have a Beavercreek resident that is interested that will be placed with us. We do have an agreement to sign and a motion on page 38. I'll let Ms. Frick talk about just some things the board needs to be aware of in regards to the agreement. We did recommend some changes. However, this is approved through their legal process, and they were unwilling to change it. So there's just needs to be some awareness items in regards to the agreement.
Yeah, I just had, there was some things that I thought were a bit odd in the way they were done, in terms, and then I just made a note of, in hopes that they could be fixed, but I guess they couldn't change them. One was, and I don't know that it has much consequence, the termination provisions, although they have this odd provision that either party can terminate for convenience, so I guess in reality you could terminate regardless, but when it came to cause, they could only terminate as to cause. So I suppose if you had cause, you could say it wasn't convenient anymore, but I thought that was an odd.
No longer convenient.
And then the other provision that I took some issue with was that it was number 13B, and it was essentially that each party bore the responsibility for any negligent acts or omissions of their own employees, and I thought it should be for any acts, not just negligent acts, because what if it was a reckless act or a purposeful act or anything. While it might be kind of a legal technicality, I thought it should be any act, not just negligent acts. But that wasn't something that was changed. In reality, it probably wouldn't have a huge issue, but those were the concerns I had about it.
what type of role do we foresee this individual filling?
More clerical for every department's use. We do have some filing that has kind of fallen behind, but this will be a 6-month program with, the employee will be with us for 6 months with the potential to renew at a 6-month as well. There's no time frame on there, but they tend to keep they're young college students, so they try to do a 6-month period. So yeah, there'll be, once we get, wherever the other program, the Montgomery County program, where youth work stops, and if whatever project's not finished, then this part-time person will pick up and finish it.
Would that person be able to do the records retention stuff that's sitting in the hall the last time I passed by?
Yes.
The fire record retention
Absolutely,
stuff?
any audits or anything we
The
need.
ones that we know we have approved to discard, making sure that it's double checked and we can get rid of them?
Yes,
We're still waiting for the paperwork.
there's no additional paperwork needed.
I don't have any paperwork, and I'll
Everything,
get back with you.
yeah, everything was
I'm still waiting for
submitted.
information from you. I don't,
Oh, I get
Whatever it is,
it.
let's get
There's
rid of.
no additional information needed. I pass that on to the assistant to fiscal officer. Anything that's required, the RC3 forms have been turned in already. And we've got, I think, 2 quotes, Ms. Aaron's, I forget, but I think there's 2 quotes on the shredding. That I
that's
haven't looked at.
probably something that you and Jen and I should sit down and
Okay.
talk about. Because, yeah, I don't want to keep it around.
Yeah,
I didn't-
we're ready to go. We might be ready for another one.
Right.
That's right, the amount of stuff that I saw in the back hall here, it's something we shouldn't be storing.
Yeah, and once we get the truck, once we look at it and review it, we'll get one company to come in. The idea was, the last time we talked about it, is we'll have this, maybe 1 or 2 massive shreddings here, but then as we get caught up, anything that hits the retention schedule that can be released, we can do 1 or 2 boxes, take them over to Green Ink in Xenia, and then they will sign off on the form. They don't shred them right away, but we check that, with them notifying us, saying yes, they have them and they're destroying them, that's good for our,
The other
regards to
part of the same
records.
area is, we have the minute books.
I'm already working on that.
No, okay, the archive is still taken.
I'm already working on that.
I guess at this point, we need a motion then to approve the Yes for Youth.
Yes, there's a motion on page 38.
I move to approve the agreement with Yes for Youth, Ohio Means Jobs, as written, and to allow the township administrator to sign for the board.
Second.
Ms. Kraft?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. Kratz?
Yes.
Thank you, board.
Please pass on our appreciation to HR and also to this group.
Yes.
Hopefully it works.
Yes, and the director of this program we're familiar with, because she completed her master's degree and did the capstone project, which we'll talk about here in a few minutes in the zoning. Yeah, she was able to, and she's also, the director's also a township president as well.
Good. HR.
Thank you, board. On page 39 begins the bi-weekly report for the HR department. Are there any questions? Thank you, board. First item for zoning is to schedule a special meeting. The zoning commission has a couple articles ready to go. One is one we've talked about in the past, which is the medical marijuana. They would like to have a joint meeting with the Board of Township Trustees to make sure everybody's on the same page on what direction we would like to go when it comes to that. We do have a lot of sample language that our capstone projects through the master's degree program at Wright State put together. And I'll let Mr. Amrine answer, explain anything else that I missed.
Thank you. There may be as many as 3 items on an agenda for a special meeting, depending on actions taken by the zoning commission on the first. There may be a site plan approval that's ready for your consideration. There will be a public hearing on that on the first. There will also be a public hearing before the zoning commission on the agritourism legislation. Depending on the actions of the zoning commission, those 2 may be ready for such a special meeting as well. What we certainly want to talk about is a work session, with a joint work session with the zoning commission to establish some guidelines as we proceed with the medical marijuana legislation. The agritourism, we're pretty much satisfied with where we've come with it. Medical marijuana, not so much. So the zoning commission expressed a wish to meet with the board of trustees in a joint work session.
So are we looking in June?
I think my recommendation would be the end of the same day as your second meeting in June, the 26th. Isn't that what we discussed? And
For.
that would
you
give
thinking
plenty
break
of
this
time
into
for
two-
note,
Are you breaking this into 2 meetings or all in 1 meeting?
all in one, all 3 items on one meeting.
Yeah, but it would be a special meeting just for zoning in the evening,
Right.
same day as we have the meeting in the afternoon.
And so all be the same meeting, there will be a work session and possibly 2 public hearings.
That's what I was asking.
I just wanted you to be fully aware that it could be a rather full agenda. Again, depending on whether the zoning commission is ready to take action on those public hearings this week.
What time then should we start? It sounds.
7?
Or do we want to start after our
Depends.
meeting?
That depends on your availability. We can start 6, 7, however you
If
want
it
to.
sounds full, I'd say the sooner the better.
But we have to allow the zoning commission to,
They have to get all work.
yeah, they have to go for it.
So
So,
6.
Maybe
6 or
you-
6:30.
6:30?
6:30.
6:30,
6:30.
going once?
6:30 is better.
I'm fine either way. Sure.
18:30, 6:30 on the 26th.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, board. Next item that we have is something similar to our last pre-scheduled speaker last meeting. This is the Beavercreek Wetlands Association request to apply for a similar grant that we just did with BW Greenway.
Right. I passed out GIS auditors maps highlighting the property in question. It's on Fairgrounds Road, fronts on Fairgrounds Road just west of Trayvine. It's on the north side of Fairground Road. You'll see it looks like 2 triangles that touch at the corner, or 2 rectangles that touch at the corner. They didn't major in geometry. I majored in philosophy. If I say it's a triangle, by golly, it's a triangle. Those 2 rectangles are connected by a 16.5-foot pathway, if you would call it a driveway. The differences between what Beavercreek Wetlands Association is seeking and what BW Greenway wanted is that Beavercreek Wetlands is actually seeking funds to acquire this property, as well as place a conservation easement upon it. And so, whereas BW Greenway simply wanted enough funds to establish a conservation easement on portions of those 2 parcels. I will say that Beavercreek Wetlands Association is primarily interested in the rectangle that's to the north that goes east and west, actually through the Big Beaver Creek. One of the purposes for acquiring the entire parcel is A, it's the family wishes, B, it shortens the process and makes it less expensive if they don't have to get new legal if they don't have to separate the 2 parcels and get new legal descriptions. And also, that they don't have serious intentions to slap an easement on the portion on the east, the north-south rectangle, but possessing that land gives them some leverage, some liquidity in acquiring easements on other portions of on other properties that may be more directly in the wetlands areas. So for example, right next door, on the Ankeny property, right where it says Beavercreek, they're in discussions with the family about the possibility of acquiring an easement on that portion that goes through the wetlands, and if they have property that they could possibly exchange or leverage, that is arable, farmable, and so forth. So their interest in acquisition is based on
Future barn.
utilization of assets. So this is different only in the sense that this grant application seeks to purchase and acquire conservation easement rather than simply acquiring a conservation easement. So
Even though it looks like two parcels, it's one parcel.
it's one parcel.
It's a funny shaped property.
And the reason they couldn't be here today is that they're walking it with the family right now. So,
Who owns the property directly to the west of that? Ankeny property, the green, this.
but I
Is
should.
that ODNR or
There
is that
are,
already under easement of some sort?
There, ODNR owns, so
The property-
Siegenthaler owns part of that property directly to the west. And then the green highlighted, I believe it is ODNR's property. So this little triangle
the
piece.
large square in the middle is,
It's at the Ankeny.
it's Dale Ankeny.
Yeah.
Right.
And then just to the west of that,
The triangle
It's
piece
part of the.
yes,
is owned by Siegenthaler.
Is that
And then
under
the green that you see on your map is ODNR, directly to the west. And I believe ODNR to the north.
And the Siegenthaler goes all the way up to Beaver Valley, right?
oh, it goes up to the backside of Nathaniel's Grove, to the southeast corner of Nathaniel's Grove. And access is one of the important reasons, access into the northern parts of the Siegenthaler Bend is one of the reasons they're interested in this property. The other, frankly, according to Dr. Jim Amon, their technical advisor, he said this may be this small, these two pieces of unprotected wetland may be the highest quality wetlands in all of Ohio, according to his scientific assessment. So apparently they're very, very high quality wetlands with a lot of biodiversity, both in terms of plants and non-rooted critters, flora and fauna.
I have a generic question for you. If these two, assuming this parcel, were to, if this were to go forward with the request as they put it in, and the portion of that Ankeny property were to go under easement, are they structuring those easements such that, is there any restriction on the remainder of the property with regards to cattle or
No, it's,
shedding of?
it's possible to structure those agreements in any way that, that they wish. Now, ODNR has a rule that if you acquire a property, let's see, how does that work? If you acquire
Essentially, it
a
doesn't,
property,
I'm looking to see
you
if it
have
doesn't.
to have a conservation easement on that property, but the easement language, for example, for the rectangle that's farmed right now, the language within that easement can allow for future sale for other purposes. And that would be the intent of the Beavercreek Wetlands Association here.
I'm thinking more from the lines of runoff, from the farm, from phosphates or any other issues that would.
Does it require a riparian strip along the edge of the wetlands? I think that's what you're essentially
So
saying.
if
that
it
way.
falls, yeah, it all of a sudden, it becomes part of that easement, but instead of for the crops, it could be used for.
It can, yes, it could be used to leverage that. It doesn't have to be though. They can leave
Okay.
as much as the family wants open to other uses. Subdivision for family members, continued farming, or even other development. As long as and we have regulations in place already that require a 100-foot buffer between the floodplain in this case and any development that takes place, as we've seen with Nathaniel's Grove.
But agricultural could flow,
So-
could overflow the flood.
But anything that's outside of that buffer, I mean, again,
Yeah,
Nathaniel's,
agricultural could affect it, yes. Yeah, so if they change the use of the agricultural from crop
Remains
to
agriculture,
animal,
but goes to,
yeah, then
livestock.
they can do that. It just, and there's no regulation unless it was some sort of agreement in the easement that you couldn't use it for that. So, yeah, there could be runoff that it could affect the wetlands based on animal, but not,
And also for the farming.
Also for
That's,
farming.
Also from the
absolutely,
farming.
Because of the phosphorus.
yeah.
Which affects the creek that goes down to the sewer plant, and that, a major concern with the phosphorus,
Just a
but
side
I agree.
and
So
so
just a side question that was
Part of
curious.
that is addressed, or shall be, or should be addressed on the protection of the aquifer. And I know we dealt with phase 2, whatever they called it, not years ago, suggesting riparian strips along the entirety, and maybe even paying for them on any of the agricultural land abutting the wetlands, so that the runoff of the nitrates and phosphorus are absorbed before they go into the creek or pollute the creek. So I think that's sort of what we sort of,
Just hadn't gone that path, just, I was curious what protections they put in place, so.
Right, well, the protections they have,
Because acquiring the easement is one piece of it, if you don't protect it,
right.
you've now created a cost center.
the floodplain map provides significant protections, and we have the authority to put in place other protections such as riparian corridors and so forth, if we so choose. One of the interns working on a capstone project for us this year was very interested in wetland protection and has given us some really interesting ideas, although it didn't go so far as to propose, for example, an overlay district or specific language in the code. It gave me lots of examples to look at in terms of how townships around the state of Ohio specifically have gone about protecting wetlands. Our lucky good fortune is that most of our wetlands are within floodplains. They're one and the same here, and so those areas aren't as threatened as they might be as if they were upland wetland areas. And that was the legislation, or excuse me, the recommendation you passed last week, 2 weeks ago, was for upland wetland protection in those properties further north of this. This is right in the floodplain. And so those protections are already there by virtue of FEMA regulations and our own floodplain and river protection overlay district.
Just discussion for thought for the future.
So you need a motion.
Do you have a motion?
Yep, I move to authorize the application by the Beavercreek Wetlands Association of Clean Ohio Conservation Grant Program for funding to purchase and acquire a conservation easement on the property at 1684 Fairgrounds Road in Beavercreek Township. Green County parcel ID number is Bravo 03-00037-0000600.
Second,
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Ms. Graf?
yes.
Mr. Chris?
Yes.
Thank you, board. Next item is the biweekly report for the zoning department. Are there any questions?
Payments are still coming in.
Yeah, chugging right along.
You need to sign this motion.
And based on what's happening since this was written, the next report will be similar in its margins ahead of last year, so.
The only, it was more of a comment than a question, just with the crazy weather we've had with the rain and the heat, and the grass is growing. I don't know if it behooves us to do a soft reminder or a reminder letter to some of our developers in the undeveloped lots. Essentially, that's what, we have several developments that have scattered undeveloped lots, and they have gone wild.
Oh, and we've got some infamous examples within the township of
Yeah, Arlington has them, Stone Hill has
annual
them.
relationships, shall we
Yeah.
say, with
Bexley,
a
Scarborough,
couple of
and Woodbridge.
developers.
So,
Yeah.
those are the ones I noticed, in the last 2 weeks was Arlington, Stone Hill, Bexley, Scarborough, and Woodbridge.
Right.
So, and it's the same ones.
Arlington and Bexley have already received their letters
Okay.
and phone calls as well. So, yeah, we're out checking
Good, okay.
regularly.
Just so we can nip it before it gets to
Yeah.
the neighbor complaints. Is there any other questions for zoning? Thank you, Ed.
Thank you.
Thank you, board. Next item is the IT biweekly report, starting on page 46. Are there any questions?
I had, if you didn't see it in the report, if it's there, then I need a lesson on how to interpret the report better. I guess what I'm looking for is, looking towards is a point in time where we go from an unlimited ticket relationship, contract, support contract, to a metered contract. And some things that came to mind would be if they could provide us, if they could categorize help ticket requests, they probably already do. And then if they could give us a breakdown, or it doesn't have to be on a bi-weekly, but maybe on a monthly basis, if they could categorize help tickets, and then provide a breakdown of what percentage, are we constantly fixing the same thing for the same person? And then compare for the period that they're reporting, so whether it's on a bi-weekly or on a monthly basis, the cost of what that would compare to if we were on meter. And the assumption, or at least presumption in my mind, is that as we go in, as we're launching and we're getting used to the system, we're gonna hit a high point of help ticket issues. And that from now to the end of the year, that should taper off.
That's correct.
So as we get closer to the point of being able to renew and go for a meter, it'd be helpful if when we get to that point of making that decision, if we had data to support, are we fixing the problems for the person that's having the problems? Or are they continuing the same problem recurring? And what would our cost be if we were on a meter program throughout each of these periods leading up to where we have to renew the contract?
And we're able to track that, I can't pull that data in regards to a report, but I do have access to that data in regards to the portal.
I didn't know if they could include it, in their reporting.
Yeah.
Are they generating this, or are you generating it?
I'm generating it through their system in the portal. So when I hit, now I had, Chris West is working on his staff, because he agreed with us that everyone that uses the system for clients is to include some of that type of information you just mentioned in the ticket process, because on page 48, the chart that you see is generated separately, but it doesn't give much detail. So I asked them if there was any way to incorporate it in the managed summary report.
It's there, I'm sure.
Yeah.
The data's there, it's just a matter of how to extrapolate it.
Correct, and then there is, so for the tickets by month, there is also 2 more reports I can pull, but it's a comparison to last year. So we don't have that comparison right now. And that report, it looks like it provides a lot more detail comparing of where we see some trends of issues. When I generate that report, nothing comes up because there's nothing to compare it to.
But really, it's kind of a ticket by category and a
Yeah.
ticket by user. And so
Yeah.
you can determine if
We-
you have a user issue
Yeah.
or if you have all your printers are all outdated.
Yeah, and I can pull that data, but the only thing with that data, it
Training
includes,
equipment, do we need training?
it includes all the information, the discussions back and forth between the employee and back to business, which, you know, it says, did you try this, you know, those type of things. That's the report I can pull now. I'll ask him if I can pull that data from those reports into this managed summary report.
And obviously, I think you said they've done the hierarchy as far as the prioritization,
Right.
that's worked out. So
Yeah.
it's just kind of taken that one level further on the where is the problem occurring. And then the second piece is the economic. How would this compare if we were on meters?
Yeah, and I can surely ask that. So if you look at obviously there's a major jump, between April and May. Obviously April's when we went to managed services. May is essentially after we did all the training with staff and said, okay, this is, Battalion Chief Easter's no longer your point of contact. This is how you contact them. So we've seen an uptick in regards to, a lot of those are just minor issues that were corrected. I have not seen any critical issues, and if I have, they were corrected.
So
pretty
do
quickly.
does this, system have the ability of like a ticket answers site, you know, like, instead of calling a document or a site where they go to and they can type in this problem? Yeah, we probably have fire and all that.
Yeah, so this all is a help desk.
Or a form, so.
Yeah, so there are 4 ways to put in a ticket, all are tracked the same way. Okay, so one is through SharePoint, which is collecting the data, it's a help desk ticket. There is the monitoring system where you can right-click on it, open it, do a screenshot, send it to them, and you have live interaction. It collects and creates a report and all that data. You can go straight to the portal, but only a few people have access to the portal. And the other is if you call the phone number. If you call the phone number and say, I can't get my printer to work, or I can't log into a certain thing, they create the ticket on the phone with you. So when you call them, they create the ticket. So it's the same, they're collecting the same data, whether it's through SharePoint, through the monitoring software, through the portal, or through a phone call.
Well, no, I'm talking about just another area, FAQs, you know, they can just go to and say, you know, this is occurring, have you done this, Reed, have you done this, this,
Yes,
and this?
yes,
Without creating a ticket.
no, we want tickets for everything so that we can track it to
Okay.
say if we don't have unlimited use, what is our cost? And so, and tracking time of day in those instances. So we should be able to get a number by the end of the year based, essentially May
But to
1st.
Mr. Kretz's point, if team member A is needs to do X, Y, Z, and they're always doing X, Y, A, and they continue to do that, whereas if they just went to an FAQ and it says do X, Y, Z.
Yeah. They don't have something like that, but that's occurring now through the ticket process. And I can provide you a sample of what it looks like. It much looks like your iPhone or your Galaxy, whatever device you use, Google. There's a conversation in different colors that we know and how we're tracking. And we are monitoring whether it's a training issue, and if so, if it's a training issue, then we're going to provide additional training for that individual. But here's the mistakes that these are not ticket items anymore. You need to do A before you do B.
How many employees do we have working on any of these devices who they have to ask for service, for help?
Every employee, including the elected officials.
How many is that?
86, and then seasonal, but they don't have access to it. And the seasonals are not, they don't get on the.
Then we have over 80 people, and although it jumped tremendously, there are only 17.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that seems like it's pretty good, because you have only 17 questions and see if half of it goes down.
Well,
And
it's
so-
it's been my experience in these situations of 17, it's probably really 3 or 4 that keep reoccurring.
Well, and some of these are open tickets, and I will tell you, we have asked staff, even though it's an ongoing issue, and we're transitioning to Office 365, there are some SharePoint connection issues, there are some Microsoft connection issues in regards to email. Those will all be corrected under Office 365. We ask the employees, no matter what the problem is, please put it in as a ticket so we can keep track to make sure when we transition to Office 365, yeah, that these things are fixed. So we do have, and that's the other thing I've asked them is to compare is open and closed tickets, because right now there's nothing in the report to show how many are open. But the ones that are open, we're waiting for the final project. I know Chief Merck's had a couple of them that are open that we put in just as a reminder to Battalion Chief Easter, who's working on the Office 365 project with Back to Business IT, that we address those issues when we make that transition and make sure those things work in the transition.
Yeah. Summary, like I said, is the main thing.
Yeah.
To me, it seems like if we can extract that without a lot of effort,
Mhm.
identify category of cause and user, so we can, if it's training,
Sure.
or is it, because what we also don't know is, frankly, we talked about this when we went to the unlimited plan, is are some of these theoretically warranty issues. So it may not even be a true issue that we would normally pay for.
Mhm.
And hopefully we take all the data over this year or whatever, and then maybe it's the cart before the horse, create like a back to business IT answers
Mhm.
for them, and then we take all this data, and then we'll be able to have that sheet for them in the future, kind of self-help or, before we have to go
At
to
least
that.
for a new employee.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else on IT?
Thank you, Board. Next item is the road department. The first item starts on page 49 in your packet is the emergency purchase for the water heater, Station 63. To replace the current system, it was going to be $10,000. We went to a hybrid system, which is some of the questions that come up on, tankless. This is a hybrid of tankless and tank system, so the cost was dramatically decreased with the hybrid system as opposed to replacing what's currently in the station. Mr. Parks is here to answer any questions.
Questions?
I have none, they have hot water, right?
Actually had more than enough.
We also
Send it
messed
back
up
up.
when the bottom's not full of sediment, so.
I had to send it back up because the water was getting too hot.
I move to approve the purchase request 08300 to Shot Plumbing for a replacement water heater in the amount of $5,200, as authorized the township administrator to sign for the board.
Second.
Ms. Grant?
Yes, and that is with Station 63. Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Thank you, Board. Next item is purchase request for a zero-turn mower.
Make a motion to approve purchase request 09132 to Xenia Tool Rental for 52-inch Bobcat zero-turn mower in the amount of $7,699, and authorize the township administrator to sign for the board.
Second.
Discussion real quick.
Yeah.
And, it's important, line to more question is on the old mower. Would it behoove us in any way to either work with the Career Center or with the service provider to rebuild that mower to keep it as a spec?
No, because if we put, they would do it for free.
That's why I was thinking Career Center.
But due to the age of that mower and the hours it has on it, some of the other components are gonna start to go bad, which we've started to see with trying to stretch them out as far as we have.
But that's, I guess I was thinking a full rebuild. I don't know if it makes sense or not, so.
Well, that's why we did the full rebuild when we replaced the head gasket on it. It was we were trying to get through this year, see where we end up with parks, and then we're gonna go back and assess exactly how many mowers we need, and try to get some of this extra equipment, shall I say, off the.
You got a warehouse to do if you keep it, and it's, yeah, I understand. Okay, it was just,
So would we salvage it out, or would we consider
Actually-
just donating it to the career center?
Well, actually, it's up to the board. If you wanna donate it to the career center, it's fine. We put it on our obsolete equipment list that's coming up next on the agenda. Our thought was to be, put it out on gov deals.
Okay.
Usually with those early return mowers, somebody's gonna come in and offer us $25,000-$3,000, so now we just bought a mower for.
that's fine.
Okay.
One thing with donation, and we discussed it last meeting, was we would have to advertise and give everybody the opportunity to request it.
Oh, okay.
So
Sorry, I
cost
missed
of donating it, would be more,
that.
and then would it be to put it on gov deals, but we certainly can let the career center know it's on there if they want it, off the gov deals.
Okay.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Ms. Grant?
Yes.
Mr. Kreis?
Yes.
Thank you, Board. Next item is what we just talked about, the surplusing some equipment. I have a resolution here with the attachment of, the equipment that's gonna be surplus on gov deals.
Where was the 60-inch TV?
Actually, it was donated to the road department.
Okay.
Move to approve the resolution, whereas the Board of Township Trustees of Beavercreek Township, Wayne County, State of Ohio, is moving the following according to section 505.10 of the Ohio Revised Code. The trustees of Beavercreek Township may deem property to be obsolete or unfit for use for which it was acquired. And whereas the Board of Trustees of Beavercreek Township, Wayne County, Ohio, find the Beavercreek Township Fire Department equipment list in Exhibit A as not needed for public use and declares the equipment obsolete or unfit for use for which it was acquired.
Second.
Ms. Grant?
Yes?
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. Kreis?
Yes.
Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of Beavercreek Township, Wayne County, Ohio favorably pass the above resolution.
Thank you, Board. Next item is the bi-weekly report on page 67. As you see from the annual report, still a lot of activity. Obviously with all the rain, our part-time seasonal workers have been kept very busy. And then we have some major projects that we're working on as well.
With all the rain, did we have factory?
We did not.
That was very fun.
Just speaking on that, the article that the board requested was in the In Touch. I did receive a phone call about it, and was they were happy that we were being proactive with it. They thought we were just closing the road when it rained. And so we've been very active over the years, and it was so far one resident called and asked
It
about
was
it.
excellent, the way I did peruse the, and just quickly, but what you had written with the kind of items that I think we should be promoting, that this is what we do, we don't just sit here, we just not a passive township, but a lot of things that we are doing that improve the life of the citizens, not only in the unincorporated, but the incorporated area also. And so it's, the more we toot our own horn, the better off we get.
On your bi-weekly, you just had noted 2 vehicle breakdowns. Breakdown implies it wasn't planned or scheduled maintenance, so.
That is correct. We had to go recover them on a weekend or an evening.
Okay.
And actually, those were, might as well, it was an additional awareness item. It happened as of this morning. Fire department, 4 Crown Vics that are 2002s. We decommissioned 2 of those as of this morning because the frames are to a point that it's unsafe to drive. We've not inspected the other 2 yet. So there could be a total of 4, since they were all,
Who are those typically assigned to?
We move those out to the stations, so if there's, for example, if there's an officers meeting, you don't have to take all the equipment out of service down here. We also use the vehicles to transport smaller equipment, and we also use the vehicles to allow the crews to go to the grocery store and errands, and John, you can go Chief Marks.
And our part-time inspector
And
is assigned to one.
yeah, one vehicle down here is for the
Correct.
part-time inspector, yes.
and that is one of the vehicles that was decommissioned today.
Okay, what are we going to be using with those out of?
We're working on that plan as we speak.
Were they heavily utilized, or were they,
Well, the one that the part-time inspector, he uses that
was
on a
one of
regular
them always
basis.
down anyway? I'm just asking.
No. The ones out at the station,
Infrequent use of the
infrequent.
station.
The one that the part-time inspector uses, that's on almost a daily use. So what we're trying to do at this point is to get it to inspect it, and if there's one of them that is feasible enough to get us through, give it to him, and then come up with a plan.
What's the utilization of the Malibu? How heavy is that?
Oh, that's used, Malibu's used a lot, the general fund Malibu position, yeah, well, and fire department uses it as well. Their code enforcement and position, they're out on a regular basis with them now. Mr. Amrine uses it as well for site visits, and Rochelle uses it for EMS reporting. She goes out to the stations and gets it, and every once in a while I'll use it for meetings. So it's open to the general staff positions, general fund staff positions, but it's for anybody's use now with the other. So sometimes staff goes to use it, it's gone, so someone else is using it.
And I know, we talked about this a couple of years ago, and actually, Ms. Aaron's, I don't remember the answer you gave us, or if there was a definitive answer to even get. The township's position with regards to leasing versus buying vehicles, is there a reason we don't lease? Or is it we're
Well, we looked at leasing, but, we've looked at it twice, but since we had the money budgeted, so most of the lease purchase option, you're not gonna get a straight lease, you're gonna get a lease purchase option for local government. It was cheaper for us to buy the vehicle outright than to go get the lease payments, because we had the money. Most other jurisdictions have to use the lease purchase process because they don't have the money and they're budgeting for that smaller payment throughout the years.
So they're paying essentially interest, extra money to have the same.
Correct.
Now,
Now,
you're saying that, you can't get lease terms?
the last time we looked, we can't get a straight lease for local government through the DAS system.
And it will all depend on what kind of use you're looking for. The administrative,
These sound like low mileage applications, that's why I'm asking.
well, actually, they've been stepped down.
No, meaning there aren't the annual miles that are being used on these vehicles, I'm presuming is low based on if it's infrequent use for the ground days. If you replace them with a, like, for lack of a better term,
But then it depends on what application you're using those in. Because like I know with road vehicles, we do all the safety lighting because we're actually out on the road. I don't know with the part-time fire inspection position, what kind of safety issues he has. But those all go into that, you're making a modification to the vehicle and you add that stuff, it's gonna cost you more in the end.
right, if you're drilling the roof, it's different. If you're putting magnets on the roof, it's one thing, but decals can come on and off. I was just throwing it out there that if it's something that, if you could refresh that fleet every 3 years with something that's under warranty for the next 3 years, it would relieve burden elsewhere too.
And the idea is what
And
Mr.
total
Parks,
cost of ownership.
Mr. Parks hit on is that we step down the vehicles. So, and it used to be, the battalion chief's vehicle, then go to one of the chiefs' vehicles, then goes into either one of the stations, or prevention, like it is now. One of the vehicles just last year, I think, went to the full-time,
Yeah, it's the old
inspector.
squad.
Yeah, the old squad. So that's the idea, is as we decommission these, same thing with the,
I understand. but,
Caprice
Yeah, I
would
guess
be the-
my point of the matter is that if we're decommissioning and stepping down a vehicle,
Sure.
And the older it gets, the maintenance keeps going up, versus if we looked at it from a different approach and said, if you did a, hypothetically, a $159 a month lease for a smart car, not that that's what you want.
Yeah.
So, and stick it out there, does that handle the events? Does that handle the courier activities? Does that handle 90% of what you need? And it relieves maintenance burden, because the vehicle's under warranty for the lease period, and at the end of the lease, it's a fleet lease, you just turn it and get another one.
We'll look at that as part of this.
Obviously, if
Yeah.
you're drilling roofs, it's different.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but if you're just not,
I think the smart car would be cheaper.
crash course. That's all I have.
Thank you.
That's good.
Thank you, Gord. Next item is on page 68 of your packet, and the first item for the fire department is a request to adopt a proclamation, for EMS week. I did send out the dates for the open houses. During EMS week, we show the other two stations, north and south, so there'll be a Tuesday and a Thursday open house. We do include the city of Beavercreek in it. They'll have the police department there. Although the attraction at Station 64 seems to be the big Amran vehicle that sits out there.
Yeah, yeah.
So, it's somewhat related to EMS, I guess.
Put that in the middle of the bumper.
Yeah, yeah.
Mr. Grant, I'll let you do this.
Oh, you're such a
This is-
sweetie.
No, this is your,
He can't read the small print. The Board of Trustees of Beavercreek Township of Greene County, Ohio, met at a duly called and authorized special meeting of the Board of Trustees of Beavercreek Township on the date set forth, May 22nd, 2017. Such meeting being duly called pursuant to a notice stating the time, place, and purpose of the meeting received by all Beavercreek Township Board members, and the following resolution was made and will be seconded by those present at the meeting. That is the resolution proclaiming Emergency Medical Service Week 2017 as May 21st to May 27th, 2017. Whereas the Board of Township Trustees wish to recognize the emergency medical services as a vital public service provided to the citizens of Beavercreek Township by proclaiming May 21st and May 27th, 2017 as EMS Week. And whereas Beavercreek Township paramedics and emergency medical technicians are ready to provide life-saving care to those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And whereas Beavercreek Township Fire Department has provided paramedic services as Bud Crawford, Gene Merrill, and Dick Ogborn were first certified in 1976. And whereas access to quality emergency medical care dramatically improves the survival and recovery rate of those who experience sudden illness or emergency injury by providing critical pre-hospital care. And whereas the emergency medical services system includes trained members of the public, emergency medical dispatchers, police officers, emergency department nurses and physicians, medical directors, firefighters, emergency medical technicians, and paramedics. And whereas Beavercreek Township paramedics and emergency medical technicians engage in thousands of hours of specialized training and continuing education to enhance their life-saving skills. And whereas it is appropriate to recognize the value and accomplishment of emergency medical services providers by designating Emergency Medical Services Week.
second.
Ms. Grant?
Yes?
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
Now therefore be resolved that we, the trustees of Beavercreek Township, in recognition of this event, do hereby proclaim the week of May 21st to 27th, 2017, as Emergency Medical Services Week, and be it further resolved that we, the trustees, thank all paramedics, emergency medical technicians, and firefighters who have volunteered or have worked for the Beavercreek Township Fire Department since it was established in 1946, for their commitment, dedication, and service, and be it further resolved, we, the trustees, encourage the community to observe this week with the theme EMS Strong, Always in Service, with appropriate programs and activities. And
Thank you, board.
I do want to say that they responded beautifully, that we had a response at my house not too long ago. They came, they did what they did, a wonderful, wonderful addition to our community. And as I read the names, because I did know Bud Crawford and Jean Merrill, and I don't remember Dick Osborne as much, but when I first became a trustee, Bud Crawford was chief and Jean Merrill was assistant chief. Goes back a long.
Last week, I had the privilege of being in the ER at Soin, and your crews did not know that I was there. But it was enjoyable to see them work. They were in with multiple other jurisdictions, and comment from the crews and the ER docs that they love working with Beavercreek Township.
Okay.
So it was just interesting.
That's great.
They had no clue that I was there, but I could see everything they were doing.
Yeah, we always tell them to behave, because you never know.
Absolutely. Never know who's watching.
Thank you, board. Next item is request for permission to purchase the annual SCBA compressor testing and maintenance. It's very similar to last year. There are no changes to the agreement other than the dates.
Make a motion to approve purchase request 09404 to Pro Air for annual SCBA compressor testing and maintenance in the amount of $1,410, and to authorize the township administrator to sign for the board.
Second,
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Ms. Graf?
yes.
Mr. Kraft?
Yes.
Thank you, board. Next item is on page 70, begins the fire department bi-weekly activity report. Are there any questions for Chief Marks?
I had two questions that were just fire related. We touched on it, but do we have an internal deadline as far as the Station 65 timeline and budget? So we set for that.
I think the chief is
Ready?
talking with the command staff. He is ready to move forward with that project. We've got Nathan,
As far as presenting us a timeline and budget.
yeah, that we're working on that.
He is, yeah, and I just spoke with Nathan this morning. The chief is currently working on that timeline, like a Gantt chart. That's coming. I will talk to him first thing in the morning, and there's some internal information that's already been produced, so.
I know we talked about the
Yeah.
last meeting, so I
Yeah.
wasn't necessarily anticipating at this meeting, but we'll talk about the
We
next
are,
meeting.
we are definitely working for it, working towards that and putting it, now that we've got the IT project pretty much down, that's one area of focus that Chief Easter's working on.
It looks like the public outreach has been excellent. Been busy.
Are we participating in the Kettering mock casualty training this week?
Not that I'm
I
aware
know
of.
multiple jurisdictions were
Right.
participating. I didn't know if we were participating. I know we have active shooter training.
Mhm.
coming up.
I'm not aware of the Kettering. I have not been able to participate in it.
Okay. That's all I have.
Thank you, board, that's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Frick,
Nothing at this time.
Mr. Roberts,
My questions were answered during the meeting.
Ms. Graff.
No,
My only comment was pass along appreciation to the auxiliary for the efforts and work they put into on the old timers breakfast.
That's all.
Ms. Aaron's?
Yep. Thank you.
we have to go into executive session pursuant to Ohio Revised Code, section 121.22G4, preparing for conducting review of negotiations or bargaining sessions with public employees concerning their compensation or other terms and conditions of their employment. Also to go into executive session, Ohio Revised Code 121.22G1, compensation of public employee, and Ohio Revised Code 121.22G3, conference with an attorney on imminent litigation.
Second.
Ms. Graf?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. Kraft?
Yes. It is 3:41. Motion to come out of executive session.
So moved.
So seconded.
Mrs. Kraft?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. Kraft?
Yes.